This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And when you're going on your next trip to Walt Disney World and you're saying, I would love to have a lot more space, but I really don't want to spend a lot more money than I have been in past trips. Well, why not get an All-Star Vacation Home? Because you're going to get a lot of space. How much space? You're going to get a house. That's right, a house. And that means everyone's going to get their own room, their own private. Everyone gets their own bathroom. Come on, that's got to be important. Lots of other great amenities, pools, game rooms, movie theaters. These are some of the typical amenities you get in an All-Star Vacation Home. And the best part about all this is the price you're paying is a fraction of what you would pay for similar type of accommodations, even if they existed at Walt Disney World. So go price them out. Just check them out. I bet you're going to like what you see. Check them out at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, April 16th, 2010, and this is episode 708 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of The Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, you're also your unofficial guide book has this website at touringplans.com, which, might I say, is an excellent way to spend 2 hours at work when my boss doesn't know about it.
Going through the resort videos and photos.
I was, of course, speaking hypothetically. I would never actually do that.
Yeah, no. But if you wanted to, the videos themselves are. We've probably got, a good 3 hours just of room videos.
That's phenomenal.
It is. Thanks. By the way, Matt, tragic news in Greensboro. I don't know if you guys heard, but all of the Waffle Houses in Greensboro have closed.
What?
Oh, be still my heart.
I know.
Success.
It apparently I don't know if it's all of them in Greensboro. All of them on my side of town. All three of them have closed as of last week.
Wow, a sad day in Greensboro.
I know, because every Friday I take Canada to Waffle House.
I think if there was an American, a Native American around, a single tear would be rolling down his cheek.
It really does, right? That feathered headdress and everything.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. And Mike, I happen to notice that Rush has a song called "Making Memories." Is that anything like the Disney song?
Oh, it's just like it. It's
just totally out of world emotion.
Long before the humanity. Yeah.
Oh, memories! And then a guitar solo. Neil puts the drum thing at the end. It's a huge, big drum finish,
It's a rocket tune.
Awesome. If we ever win the lottery, promise me we pay Rush to do the remake of
that. How cool would that be? A Rush tribute to Disney music.
You have like a little musical interlude like Red Barchetta in the middle of it. They just all go off and do their own thing for like 3 minutes.
That would be so funny.
Or it's like 2112 where they turn it into a 30-minute opus,
That's great.
Like not only are we not in the attraction anymore, we're on the other side of the theme park. They're still going.
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
These guys are just driving me crazy. Looks like snowflakes on the trees.
Looks like snowflakes.
That's so would you up.
Mickey's "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
No.
Oh.
Actually, it's sung.
Looks like snowflakes on the trees.
Looks like snowflakes on the trees.
None of us is going to make the cast of Glee based on what we just heard.
or American Idol reject.
Really.
Magic Journeys.
Wow. Where in the movie?
Yep.
Oh man, we need Warner on.
Well, on today's show, we have a topic that actually Len thought of. So, Len, why don't you introduce this topic for us today? Because it's kind of an interesting idea that you came up with.
So, and by I came up with, I mean that I stole shamelessly from you, and that's this. Imagine you had just a limited amount of time to explain to someone who had never been to Walt Disney World before, but who had been to other theme parks, what the essence of Walt Disney World was, and you could only take them to one land in one park. What land and park would you choose to explain the very basic essence of Walt Disney World and how it's different and why? So there are four of us. There are four theme parks. We're each going to pick one and then explain what it is.
So easy.
so easy. Well, it depends on the park, right? So a couple of rules. Matt's going to go first. He can't pick the studios.
Ugh. Well, I think we all can agree that if we're not picking the studios, nothing says Walt Disney World like Animal Kingdom, of course. No, I would never pick that part. That's a tough one. I mean, if I was Disney marketing, of course I would funnel the Magic Kingdom down your throats because, nothing says anything about Walt Disney World than the Magic Kingdom. But I'm really going to go against the grain here and not go for the Magic Kingdom. It's too obvious. It's the easy choice. It's like picking chalk in your NCAA tournaments. You just don't do that. You don't pick Duke to win it all. Oh wait, no, I guess I did do that. Anyway,
You would do that because that's just cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, since I can't pick the studios, I would pick Epcot, and I would pick in Epcot. I mean, it's hard to say because there's only like 2 real lands there, but if I would pick Future World, and I would pick.
What side of Future World would you?
That's what I'm going to go. Yeah, because I think saying Future World is too much of a cop out. Also, I'm going to say, man, I wish I could go back in a few years in time.
I know exactly where you're going with this. 10 years ago, you'd have picked Future World East.
Yeah, exactly. Not so much today. It's tough. I'm going to pick the area around Spaceship Earth because I think it exemplifies, even though they've tweaked it quite a bit with the Judi Dench version, I still think that Spaceship Earth and the area around it, that the entrance area, the whole beginning of Epcot, really conveys that idea that, wow, this is totally different than any theme park I've ever been to before. There are no other theme parks I've ever been to that have come close to kind of conveying the look or feel or theme of Epcot. And it's not that it's different in theme, because anyone can develop, you have like, there are theme parks based on, a whole multitude of different themes. But the idea is that it's so radically different and yet so cohesive that it really makes you, you don't feel like you're in a theme park. You feel like you're in somewhere totally different. I think that's really what makes Disney parks so special, is that they get that ability to suspend disbelief, your sense of disbelief, that is, and make you feel like you're in the park over there.
That's admirable. I mean, you picked one attraction in an area. That's quite the cerebral thinking there.
Yeah, and I think that also speaks a lot to the, if I may say so, to the fact that area is the closest you're getting. Well, it's not the closest, but it's closer to that 1982 Epcot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And except for the, I don't like the Leave a Legacy.
I agree.
Things up front. That could be, if they could just did plants there, it'd be so much better. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an area that I really think conveys that idea. Does anyone have any other parts of Epcot that you think better convey? Because I'm trying to think.
The one more thing I like about that part is remember the monorails going around.
Yeah, exactly.
So that conveys not only the future, because the monorail's a pretty cool way of transportation, but also it conveys movement, right? So you've got the ball, the Spaceship Earth, which is towering and imposing and is like a gee whiz kind of structure. But you've also got this wonderful motion of things moving around you. So you get this sort of dynamic experience just by being in there. You get the people moving around again, except for the Leave a Legacy things, which I don't think really go there. And don't forget, you've got the fountain there too at the beginning. So you've got the motion of the water, you've got the people moving around, you got the monorail. It's very well done in terms of a transition experience.
And the music that they play is really good.
Music is really good, right?
Well, you guys hit the nail on the head. As a first-time visitor to Epcot, that whole area, as soon as you walk in, you're just in awe of the place. Here you have this giant geosphere in front of you, and it's opening up to what's behind it, what's ahead of me, what else am I going to experience today? And that just sets the tone for your day and your experience at that particular park.
I think so. I think, again, it's so unique. I mean, it's not that the Magic Kingdom, and someone's going to talk more about this. It's obviously very Disney, and people think of Disney World, they think of the Magic Kingdom for obvious reasons. But I think that other places have tried to kind of emulate that to an extent. But Epcot is just so different and good that it separates itself quite a bit. I think that's why I picked that park to kind of give that example of what a Disney park can be.
I love it. I think it's a great choice, and it wasn't the one that I was thinking of actually. So nice job.
What did you have in mind?
I thought for sure I think the easiest one to justify is Future World West.
Yeah,
that's I mean it is quite such, but I mean your way of thinking is definitely it was great. Yeah,
Thank you.
Very nice.
Who's next?
Mr. Newell.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go over to the Magic Kingdom, and while the obvious choice is Fantasyland, because Walt Disney was known for releasing such wonderful stories and films based on those characters, I'm gonna run over to a part where not everyone realized Disney was just as big a part of, which is Tomorrowland. He was
interesting choice.
He was so interested in science and space, and there's a lot of films that were released during the 60s and the 50s based on space that a lot of people really don't see. And I think Tomorrowland was that vision. And even though it seems kind of stale as far as today's standards go, you talk Disneyland, Tomorrowland in the 50s, and even Walt Disney World in the 70s and into the 80s. Tomorrowland just shows that whole what's the word I'm looking for? Like that techno space era that was going on in the 50s.
Right.
That we hadn't gone to the moon yet. We were just getting into the space race, and it was a whole thing of what was out there and a whole mystery. And I think that Tomorrowland, the way it was designed, showed Disney's vision of what he thought was out there and out of space. And I think that reflects on the way it was designed and the way it still is today in some aspects.
Did you mention Carousel of Progress?
No, I did not.
That's a quintessential Orlando.
Well, that's different. The difference with that is that really wasn't designed with space in mind. That was designed with the World's Fair in mind, the 64, 63 New York World's Fair. It just happens to be there. You don't really get a space age feeling when you're in there, but it fits there, in a weird way. It belongs in Tomorrowland. I think more than any other land, it belongs in Tomorrowland.
Mm.
Yeah, Tomorrowland's a great part of the park for obvious reasons. I mean, it's got some great attractions in there. I mean, you've got Space Mountain, which is really the focal point of the land. It's really the part of the pulls it all together. And I think that obviously that's such a signature attraction. And I think with a lot of these lands, I think we're going to find that signature attractions come hand in hand with the land that we choose. I think for obvious reasons. I mean, Carousel of Progress also, I would also argue, would be a signature attraction. But I think that having that kind of you're not picking Liberty Square, nothing against Liberty Square, but you know what I mean. It has that.
You could pick at Liberty Square, though. But go ahead.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that there's more to it than just the idea of it. It's got to also it's what's inside that counts, and not to sound too.
Oh please, it's only about looks. Always remember that.
It's not me. It's not you, Len. It's me.
It's me exactly.
But I think that the fact that you picked that land, Mike, really speaks volumes about not only the land itself, but also what's in there. And we may not love everything that's in that land,
right?
But the fact that you have Space Mountain, Carousel of Progress, and even in the TTA, those three alone are huge attractions that have such history to them.
And what's funny, you mentioned those three attractions. Those are the three, well, the exception of Space Mountain, those are the three original attractions of Tomorrowland.
That's right.
TTA was there, I mean, in the early years.
Timeless
anyway.
Classics. That's a great observation.
Yeah. And the ones that we dislike the most are the newer ones.
The funny thing is I was going through in my head, the lands that I would have picked if I got to choose the Magic Kingdom. It was really hard because I went exactly to the first choice of Fantasyland, just like Mike did, and I rejected it because it's well done, and it's certainly the heart of other parks. In Disneyland, it's the heart. In Disneyland Paris, it's the heart of the park. Not so much in the Magic Kingdom just yet. But you could really make a case for almost any land. I didn't think about Liberty Square until Matt just mentioned it, but you could definitely make a case for almost any land. I actually was my offshoot, my odd choice there would have been Main Street. But anyway, that's for another show.
Yeah, no, I think the only other one that I would think about would be Adventureland, but I think
Adventureland is exactly what
I really think that those,
theming.
Yeah, I think really you go look at Adventureland and you look back at Tomorrowland and you could I could see either way, so I don't have any problem with what Newell picked.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I think that's great. Mr. Scopa.
Well, I've been deep in thought.
I thought I heard light snoring. Was that
taking a nap? And I think that I don't think that there's a wrong answer here at all. I think that every answer is a good answer, and I think that if you ask 10 people, you'd get 10 different responses. But I'm going to, since Hochberg stole my thunder and took Epcot, and Mike Newell took Magic Kingdom. I think I'm going to stroll over to the studios.
Woot.
And
Woot.
I'm going to go to Mickey Avenue. I'm going to go over to One Man's Dream.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
God. This is okay.
And the reason here's why I'm going to go there, because you talked about what is the essence of Walt Disney World, and the essence of Walt Disney World started in Walt Disney's head. And if it wasn't for his dreams and his vision and everything, we wouldn't be talking about Epcot. We wouldn't be talking about Magic Kingdom. We wouldn't be talking about Carousel of Progress. I think that if you go through the exhibit, One Man's Dream, I think then you can talk to those people you're trying to describe the essence of Walt Disney World to, and you can say, okay, this is where it all began. And you can talk about how Disneyland began, and you can talk about all the things that he was involved with, all the things that Disney was involved with, because from the television, from the movies, from the cartoons came many of the attractions, and that's what's happening today. So you can explain that. I think that especially when you get towards the end of that, One Man's Dream exhibit, then you see the Spaceship Earth exhibit, you see the Tree of Life, and then of course you see that film that he made just before he died. And
the Florida Project one.
Yeah, the Florida Project film, which was shown to the Florida legislature after he died. And that particular film explains, in his words, what his vision of Disney World was to be. And so when you think about everything, that exhibit kind of captures everything as to what he wanted the essence of Walt Disney World to be. And I think that sort of also does something that all the attractions and all Disney theme parks do, and that is they all tell stories. Disney is known as being the storyteller. They tell a better story than Universal. They tell a better story than Busch Gardens. So I'm looking at One Man's Dream as being that particular area. Mickey Avenue, that particular attraction, captures the essence of not just Walt Disney World, but Walt Disney.
It's a really interesting observation, because when you first said it, I was ready to ask you a question. I really didn't. I agree with you, but I think you brought up some great points. My thing when you first said it, Mike, was, I think that's a good point, but I think that's not for, like, if you're trying to introduce someone to Walt Disney World. But then you started talking about a lot of the different aspects about it, about the story, that it's not just about Walt Disney World. It's about, how you got to Walt Disney World, how you got from Walt as a boy to where you are today. And from that aspect, I kind of followed your logic there, and it made some sense to me. So you kind of sold me on that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. If I had a choice, though, and if I had gone first, I would have picked World Showcase.
Okay. Yeah, World Showcase would have been a good choice too. It really can't go wrong at Epcot, except for Future World East. But anyway, if you pick the Odyssey, maybe in something else. So let's see. The only park left is the Animal Kingdom, and I'm gonna pick that, which works out well. And I'm gonna go with Asia in the Animal Kingdom. And the reason I like Asia is that it showcases all of the skills that Disney Imagineering has, and every trick that they have up their sleeve. So if you think about entering Asia, you do so through two different bridges, one coming from Dinoland. You're sort of on an industrial steel beam bridge, which fits in well with the theme of Dinoland. And the other way is through an arched bridge over from Discovery Island. And no matter which way you turn, getting in there, you're immediately presented with a very detailed, visually rich environment. So if you're walking from Discovery Island, you're walking past the Coca-Cola stand on your right, and you sort of make that right-hand turn, and you go past the big sort of rock carved statues that have fallen into disrepair, and you're immediately presented with essentially a lush, overgrown jungle path. And remember, we had Sam Genoway on the show a couple months back, and he explained how the different lands in the animal kingdom were representing different levels of man's interaction with nature. So in Africa, it's man imposing his order on nature, and in Asia, it's nature taking back that which man once claimed. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you do. So am I the only one that listens to our old shows? So the other thing is that if you think about the attractions in there, right? So Everest is a classic Disney thrill ride. It doesn't have classic in the sense of it's got a great story. It doesn't necessarily have the biggest thrills of any Orlando theme park, but it's got a rich story. It's appropriate for almost all ages. Almost anything but the smallest children could fit on it. And it's got some unique effects on it. I think it's the best front seat coaster experience in any Disney park, and the queue is especially great. But I think in terms of mastery of queues, I think you guys will agree. Kali River Rapids, not a great attraction, but that queue is one of the best queues in any theme park ever,
And the longest.
But it's incredibly detailed.
Yes.
The amount of planning and research and design that went into just that is truly incredible. It really is an achievement in terms of queue design. The other thing I like about the picking Asia is you've got both a food cart in the tea stand, right, with the pastries. You've got a counter service restaurant in Yak and Yeti Market, and you've got a sit-down restaurant in the Yak and Yeti as well. So you've got a coaster, a thrill ride. You've got a moderately tame ride in Kali River Rapids. You've got one of every food service. You've got places to sit down in the jungle theming on the way to Africa. And you've got bathrooms. I think that's the complete Disney experience.
And the runaway coaster.
And the runaway coaster, that's right, because nothing says Disney Thrill Ride like a runaway industrial vehicle.
Yeah, I think I like your choices of Asia. I think the only other land I would have considered, Len, would have been Africa.
I thought about Africa, but no thrill ride. It's sort of an educational thing. You definitely could have made a case for the safari, but it needs like one more attraction.
That's fair. I think that certainly the addition of Expedition Everest, I think for a lot of us, when I picked Epcot and when Newell picked Magic Kingdom, I'm sure that we both would have, if this was 10 years ago, it would have been a lot easier of a choice in many cases to make these decisions. But with yours, I think it's the opposite. With Asia, it made the choice for you given that today versus what it was 10 years ago. And
right.
The addition of Expedition Everest has, it's one of those attractions that has, obviously it hit the mark in terms of totally transforming the park in terms of the expectations and what people get out of the park. And it's obviously a wonderful attraction. So that alone can really do it. And I think that goes back again to why Newell picked Tomorrowland also. Space Mountain. The attractions are just as important as the theme you're talking about in whatever land you pick.
Yep.
Very good. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Don't forget that this episode of WDW Today has been sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And if you're planning your next trip to Walt Disney World and you're looking for a great place, Len picked Animal Kingdom. From many All-Star Vacation Homes, you can see Animal Kingdom from your All-Star Vacation Home. You go right outside and say, hey, that's Expedition Everest right there. That's how close you are. So why not give them a try? Go to www.allstarvacationhomes.com. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.